These are my favorite 4 running backs to draft in the early part of fantasy football drafts. I'm talking rounds 1 through 4. I think these guys are going to smash this year and help teams win championships. Hey, before I get to those players, if you want to play fantasy football with us and potentially win cash prizes, you got to join us over at flockfantasy.com/endgame. We've got 5 spots left in our final Dynasty League, $100 to first. We're going to be doing redraft leagues as well. Not to mention you're going to get access to all our bonus articles, videos, live streams, everything else, plus some free endgame swag. Check it out, flockfantasy.com/endgame. 30% off now. It's the place to be this fantasy season. All right, let's get into my first running back. And if you've watched me at all this offseason, you know ever since the NFL draft, I've been all about Bijan Robinson. I mean, I was all about Bijan Robinson before the draft, but he landed in absolutely one of the best possible spots. This is a guy, a running back who can absolutely do everything. He's got great vision. He's got great burst. He can make people miss. He can break tackles. He can run inside. He can run outside. He can pass protect. He's a phenomenal pass catcher, and he's a great route runner. He can do it all. There's nothing this guy can't do. And he landed in one of the best situations because now he's going to a Falcons team who PFF, Pro Football Focus, ranks as the 8th best offensive line in the entire NFL. And they ran the ball 32 times per game last year. Even if they throw it a little bit more with Desmond Ridder this year, which I think they will, we're still talking about a team that's going to probably be in the top 5 rush attempts per game. And Bijan Robinson's a great pass catcher. He's going to catch a ton of passes too. He's going to be a true workhorse running back. He's one of the most gifted running backs we've seen in years. 350 touch upside, 80 catch upside, double-digit touchdown upside, and like 2 other rookie running backs recently, Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott, both who averaged over 20 points per game as a rookie. Saquon was the overall RB1 that year. I think that's going to be Bijan Robinson this year. People who are sleeping on him or nervous about him because he's a rookie are going to miss out. Don't be one of those people. Draft Bijan Robinson, please. Only an injury can derail this guy's season. Now let's move on to a running back that I think people are way too low on this year, which is strange to say for an early round running back, but it's Jonathan Taylor. Just last year, he was a consensus #1 pick in fantasy, and then, he had a down year, dealt with some injuries. Now he's dropping all the way down to the 2nd round. Really? Jonathan Taylor, 2nd round, a lot of times going like mid-2nd round. That is just crazy to me. This guy is still a stud running back. He's 24 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He was a great talent coming out of college. He's been nothing but great in the NFL, and he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on him, so you don't have to worry about that either. And last year, despite a down year, he still got 70% of the running back touches in this Colts offense, and that shouldn't change this year because who's going to take touches from him? Nobody. That's who. And I know some of the worry here, Anthony Richardson, a running QB, might vulture touchdowns and things like that, and sure, he might. But Jonathan Taylor had a very bad year in terms of touchdown luck last year. His touchdown rate of 1.8% last year was not only the lowest of his career, but one of the lowest in the entire NFL. His 2 years prior, he was at 4.5% and 5.8%. So we should expect that number to go way up, as should his touchdowns. And unlike last year, when they had no offense, couldn't move the ball, they basically were just throwing 3-yard passes and then punting. They're going to have a real offense this year because Anthony Richardson is going to bring a dynamic they didn't have last year. New head coach, former offensive coordinator from Philly coming over, knows how to work with these running quarterbacks. He did it with Jalen Hurts. He'll do it with Anthony Richardson. This is going to be a much better offense. They're not going to throw the ball a ton. They're going to lean on the running game with Jonathan Taylor. This is a prime running back, the prime of his career, a great talent, has home run ability, explosive play ability, should score a ton of touchdowns this year. He's going to get a ton of touches. And people don't seem to care because he burned them so bad last year. Now he's fallen all the way to the 2nd round. An absolute steal, in my opinion. All right, I keep talking about Ramondre Stevenson, but I'm going to keep talking about him because his ADP has barely budged. I mean, sometimes maybe he goes late 2nd round, but sometimes still even early 3rd round. Why? Why are we drafting Ramondre Stevenson this late? What has changed from last year? Well, the only other running back that actually was involved is gone. They didn't bring anybody in. It's Pierre Strong Jr., Ty Montgomery, and Kevin Harris. There's nobody behind Ramondre Stevenson to even remotely worry about here. And last year, he ranked 6th among all running backs in weighted opportunities, 3rd among all running backs in targets, and 15th in red zone touches. But we should expect that red zone touch number to go up because the guy I just talked about, Damian Harris, is gone, and he was the only other real threat to take red zone touches from Ramondre Stevenson. And like Jonathan Taylor, he also had a very low touchdown percentage last year. Just 2.2% was his touchdown rate, which is extremely low. We should expect some regression back to the mean, back to the norm here, which means even more touchdowns for Stevenson. And he only scored 6 last year, which was 22nd among all running backs. It's not hard to see him eclipsing double-digit touchdowns in this offense this year with no Damian Harris here. Stevenson is one of the few true workhorse running backs who also could catch 80 to 100 passes. Remember, he had 69 receptions last year, and that number could go up even more this year. So for me, the fact that he's available at this point in the draft is just crazy to me. He's an absolute workhorse. He was a stud last year. He's going to be a stud again. He's young, not a lot of wear and tear on him. There's nothing to not like about Ramondre Stevenson. Why aren't we drafting him higher? Finally, let's go one more rookie, Jahmyr Gibbs. I talked about 80 to 100 possible catches for Ramondre Stevenson. Well, I think that's where Jahmyr Gibbs is at too, and I've compared him pretty much kind of like CMC's rookie year in 2017 when he only handled 117 carries, but he caught 80 passes that year. I think that could be Jahmyr Gibbs this year because he's not a big dude. He's not going to handle a huge workload on the ground, but I think they brought him in here for a reason, and that is to be a dynamic option in the passing game. And you look at it last year, all the frustration with DeAndre Swift, even though he only played 42% of the snaps, he still ranked 10th among all running backs in targets. Gibbs is going to play more than 42% of the snaps, and in weeks 1 through 6, he's basically going to be their number 2 target because Jameson Williams suspended, and who else do they really have at wide receiver? I mean, Marvin Jones, Sam Laporta, the tight end. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a chance to come in right away and be an impact player in this passing game and show what he can do, and he'll probably get more touches than DeAndre Swift got last year because he's such a dynamic player, and they just used the number 12 pick on him. They're going to use him in this offense. And any running back who finishes the season with 80 or more receptions in your PPR leagues is going to be a top 12 running back almost by default. Jahmyr Gibbs typically goes in the 4th round of fantasy drafts. To me, way too low. I will gamble on the upside of Jahmyr Gibbs here. 80 plus catches, well within reason. Even 100 catches, not out of the question. So for me, Jahmyr Gibbs in the 4th round all day long. All right, so that's 4 of my favorite early round running backs, but how about wide receivers? You can check them out right here.